Welcome to Array Examples. In this video, I'm going to do a quick, simple example of an array so you can kind of get your head around how it works and see exactly why you would want to use this thing. Now, notice that what I've got open right here is a project entitled Array Example. And if I look over here in the Solution Explorer, you can see that there's my project named Array Example, and I've got an array or arrex.cpp module to code in. Now you'll find this project in the work files folder, so go look that up, chase it down, and then you won't have to type all this code. But I've kind of done the first part beforehand because I didn't want to spend a bunch of time with you having to suffer through watching me type this stuff. But let me go through what I've done here. The first thing I did is we want to track a person's tips. So they work in a restaurant. We want to track their tips for a week. Well, I created a variable for every day of the week. There's Sunday tips, Monday's tips, Tuesday, Wednesday. You see the pattern developing, right? Then I went down here and I created a function to add those tips up. And I named the function tip var or variable totals. Notice I created an integer variable called tote, holds the type integer. And then I set tote equal to, and I just added all of my variables together here: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then I return that back out. Now where did I return it? It jumped into ttote, and then I've just got a console out right here and we're printing ttote. Okay, and so I've got 7 different variables here, and if I compile this and run it, you will see that it works out perfectly. Okay, well, not perfectly, but it works. And so I'll go into Documents, I'll go into Visual Studio 2010, into Projects. Here is Array Example, and then I will hold down Shift, right click on Debug in Windows 7, and then I will just type Array Example. And notice the total tips by variable 73. So $73 is what I made. Now that's using variables in a very manual type of way. What if I go the route of using an array? So I create a data type integer and I assign that to tips. Then I tell it I want you to hold 7 values, and not only that, I'm going to tell you what to set those 7 values to: 5, 6, 8, 12, 11, 9, and 22. Alright, and then I close it out with the braces. And this does essentially the same thing as this, except instead of having 7 variables, I only have 1 variable named tips, but I can store 7 different values in that. Okay, and there are my 7 values. Use this. What I'm going to do is go down and create a function. I didn't mention this earlier, but I had to put my function prototypes up here, and I'm going to just copy and paste a function prototype in here for this one, and it's going to be tip ARR or array totals. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to basically create a loop to just simply loop through that array and give me my totals. Okay, and so here we go. Notice I'm going to start off by creating a variable called int ARR TOT, and I'll initialize it to 0, and then I'm going to do a for statement, a loop, and I'm going to say for int I, and we will initialize that at 0, and then we'll say for as long as I is less than 7, keep looping, and then every time you go through, let's increment I. Okay, and notice I'm doing a postfix on that. If you don't remember that, go watch the video on increment and decrement. And then I'm going to say ARR tote plus equals tips, and I'll call I every time. Okay, ARR total plus equal means whatever is in ARR total plus tips, and then that becomes the new ARR total. Okay, and then I will close that out. Then I will come down here to the bottom. Once that loop breaks out, I will return ARR tote back up to my calling function. Now what I've got to do up here in the main is to simply call that function and pass it out to somebody. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do int atote right here and set it equal to tip ARR totals, and I will call that function that I just created. Okay, this one right here. Now what I'm going to do right here is copy my command to basically stream this out to the console. I'm going to copy it right here, and I'm going to say total tips by array, and instead of T total I'll put A total. Alright, so notice this first one is going to call it, and it's going to add it up kind of the old-fashioned manual way, if you will. Alright, this next one is going to call the function that basically loops through the array that we set up here, and just loops through. When I is equal to 0, we get this one. When I is equal to 1, then we get that one, the 6, and I keep dragging those, I'm sorry. The next one we get 8, so that's 0, 1, 2, and then 3 is 12, 4 is 11, and so forth. And so we just keep working our way up, but notice there are 7 numbers here. Okay, they start at 0 and go through 6. Alright, so let's recompile, and then we will jump out there and run our application again. So we run array example, and just like that, notice that both of them counted 73. We got to the same place by doing 2 different things, but there's a lot more leeway and power in being able to loop through these, and a lot more efficient storage and a lot faster storage by using an array. So that's just a simple example of an array and why you would want to use one.